Ladies and gentlemen, open your heart and listen closely to this truth. The universe is not withholding from you. It is responding to you. Life does not measure you by what you demand. It measures you by what you release. You see, you are not here to beg from life. You are here to command it through alignment. Every thought you think is a message. Every word you speak is a declaration. Every emotion you allow is an instruction. And the universe, faithful, silent, powerful, answers every one of them. If you send out fear, you receive confusion. If you send out anger, you receive conflict. If you send out doubt, you receive delay. Giving is not a gesture, a moral decoration, or something noble that certain people do while others simply survive. It is a fundamental law governing the movement of life itself. Everything that exists is in motion. Everything that moves is exchanging energy, and everything that exchanges energy is either giving or receiving at all times. There is no such thing as not giving. Even in silence, you give an attitude. Even in stillness, you give an expectation. Even in hesitation, you give a signal. Life responds to those signals with perfect accuracy, not according to what you hope, but according to what you consistently project. The universe is not emotional, it is precise. It echoes your inner atmosphere whether you are aware of it or not. When you speak of giving, you are not talking about money alone. You are talking about thought, giving word, giving emotion, giving belief, giving. You give courage through confidence. You give despair through doubt. You give expansion through vision. And you give limitation through fear. Each one returns wearing a disguise that matches its essence. That is why some people keep meeting the same conflicts in different forms, while others keep encountering opportunities from unexpected directions. To understand giving as spiritual law rather than random kindness changes your entire position in the world. You stop seeing yourself as dependent and begin to realize you are influential. You no longer ask if life will deliver. You ask what you are delivering to life. When you release appreciation, you are not being polite. You are placing a command into invisible systems. When you release forgiveness, you are not being soft. You are cutting ropes that tie your future to your past. When you release expectation of good, you are not being naive. You are being mathematically accurate in a universe that multiplies intention by reflection. What you think returns is not a reward, it is alignment made visible. If your inner language is defeat, your outer environment becomes delay. If your inner dialogue is faith, your surroundings reorganize into favor. Giving is powerful because it breaks the illusion of powerlessness. The moment you give in faith instead of fear, you interrupt old patterns and write new ones into motion. You stop waiting for circumstances and become the cause instead of the effect. People who live this law do not chase success. They command it by consciousness. They give courage when doubt would be easier. They give thanks before proof appears. They give belief while outcomes are still invisible. And something extraordinary begins to occur. Life starts responding not with resistance, but with remarkable cooperation. Coincidences multiply. Doors open without explanation. Help arrives without request, not because the universe decided to be generous, but because you finally decided to be aligned with its governing law. You do not draw into your life what you simply wish for in quiet moments of desire. You draw into your life what you consistently become. Life listens far more closely to your internal atmosphere than to your spoken hopes. The universe responds to your dominant state of being, not your occasional words. If your emotions vibrate with lack, you summon situations that echo scarcity. If your identity secretly whispers, "Not enough," life answers with delay and disappointment. But when you embody abundance before it shows up, when you operate as though support is already arranged, you cross an invisible line where wanting gives way to expecting, and expecting dissolves into receiving. This is not imagination. This is alignment. You are a living broadcast tower, transmitting signals with every thought, every reaction, every belief you allow yourself to hold as truth. Abundance does not respond to desperation. It responds to certainty. When you carry yourself as though the universe is friendly, potentials suddenly reveal themselves where walls once stood. When you treat opportunity as inevitable, it arrives disguised as suggestion, meeting, or inspiration. Lack has a sound, and so does provision. One speaks in hurry, anxiety, contraction, and pressure. The other speaks in calm confidence, anticipation, and steadiness. You cannot shout insecurity all week and whisper faith for one moment and expect the universe to misunderstand you. It reflects your dominant tone with precision. When you choose to be peace rather than chase it, peace tracks you down. When you decide to be generosity rather than wait for excess, increase begins to circulate through your life in surprising ways. When you become mindful of beauty, beauty begins to reveal itself everywhere. This is why some live in crowded cities and feel alone while others stand in silent fields and feel accompanied. It is never location, money, or circumstance that determines fulfillment. It is alignment of internal identity with external reality. As you shift who you are inwardly, life reshapes itself outwardly like a mirror being wiped clean. The key is not pretending, the key is knowing. Passive hope is fragile. Embodied belief is electric. To embody abundance does not mean denying difficult moments. It means refusing to let limitations become your language. It means refusing to rehearse problems into permanence. It means giving faith the loudest voice in your inner conversation, even when the evidence has not yet appeared. When you do this, something extraordinary happens. The universe stops responding as though you are begging and begins responding as though you are ready. People who embody abundance walk differently, speak differently, decide differently. They do not cling, they circulate. They do not hoard, they distribute. They understand instinctively that what flows through them grows and what is gripped tightly fades. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim of conditions and start seeing yourself as a partner with life, the current changes direction beneath your feet. You realize you were never meant to persuade the universe. You were meant to match it. And in that matching, life unfolds with elegance and precision that no amount of striving could ever produce. Letting go is not about losing. It is about unlocking. Every emotion you refuse to release becomes a wall, and every memory you rehearse in pain becomes a chain. You may think you are holding on to people, habits, or outcomes, but in truth they are holding on to you, quietly deciding the shape and size of your future. The soul was not designed to be a storage room for disappointment. It was designed to be a passageway for possibility. What you cling to out of fear blocks what is trying to arrive in trust. Life cannot pour new wine into old bottles, not because it is unkind, but because it is precise. And precision is one of love's greatest forms. Every resentment you carry is a conversation with the past that steals from the present. Every regret you replay is a future you cancel before it can even appear. The weight you feel is not life being heavy. It is memory refusing to move. The moment you release bitterness, your body breathes differently. The moment you drop jealousy, your mind sits quietly. The moment you dissolve comparison, your spirit stands tall. Holding on does not preserve anything, it preserves stagnation. Letting go, on the other hand, creates motion, and motion calls in transformation. Fear convinces you that without control you will fall, but control is the very thing that keeps life from catching you. When you loosen your grip, unseen hands begin to work. When you stop forcing, circumstances rearrange themselves gracefully. You were never meant to manage destiny, you were meant to align with it. Surrender is not weakness disguised as peace, it is strength refined into trust. It is knowing when effort betrays you and when ease becomes your greatest ally. When you release the need to be right, you gain the power to be free. When you release the hunger for revenge, you reclaim tomorrow. When you release your demand for approval, your soul remembers its own authority. There is a secret miracle in walking away from what insults your peace. Every farewell to bitterness is a greeting to clarity. Every goodbye to fear is an invitation to expansion. You will never know what awaits you if you keep staring at what wounded you. Nothing meant for you can bypass you. Nothing false can follow you forward. Life does not punish you by removing, it promotes you through detachment. What leaves was never yours. What remains grows gentler in your hands. And what approaches when you let go arrives with a beauty you could never have negotiated for. The universe has planned more for you than your old thinking can contain, but it will never crowd a heart already filled with yesterday. Space is the language of miracles. When you empty your hands of heaviness, they become available for wonder. Faith is not a feeling that drifts in when circumstances become convenient. It is a decision that stands when evidence refuses to agree. It is the quiet authority of inner knowing that does not require permission from appearances. The universe does not reorganize itself around pleading, it rearranges itself around conviction. Desperation speaks the language of absence, and life responds by echoing more absence. Certainty, however, speaks with calm expectation, and the unseen begins orchestrating the seen with stunning intelligence. When you act as though what you desire is inevitable, you invite forces into motion that could never respond to fear. Faith does not ask whether the door will open. It reaches for the handle with confidence and discovers the lock was never real. When you expect good instead of waiting for proof, circumstances rush to justify your certainty. What you assume becomes what you allow, and what you allow becomes what you live. The invisible world is deeply obedient to belief. It bends to the image you hold of life rather than the life you complain about. If your inner dialogue declares delay, then delay must appear. If your inner speech announces favor, then favor begins to collect evidence. Life is never mistaken when it follows your thinking, it is simply loyal to your dominant idea. Faith turns imagination into architecture. It builds unseen frameworks that become visible realities. While others rehearse why a thing cannot happen, faith designs pathways through impossibility. While others count obstacles, faith counts alignment. It is not blind optimism. It is spiritual precision. It is the recognition that outcomes respond to identity, not effort alone. Work without faith exhausts. Faith with action accelerates. Where doubt drags its feet, belief flies first class. The mind trained in faith does not panic when timelines stretch. It trusts the intelligence of unfolding. Delay is not denial. It is preparation wearing the costume of patience. When you stop questioning whether life will support you and instead thank it in advance, the unseen feels acknowledged and begins to reveal itself. Gratitude before arrival speeds arrival. Confidence before confirmation invites cooperation from dimensions you cannot name but can absolutely feel. Faith is the language that creation understands. Through it, thought becomes structure and vision becomes geography. When you replace anxiety with expectation, life recalibrates. When you replace worry with worshipful trust, pathways illuminate. The universe is never keeping score against you, it is simply responding to the tone of your belief. Speak in fear, and life whispers back in obstacles. Speak in certainty, and life roars in opportunity. The unseen is always listening, and it has never once mistaken confidence for ignorance. Service is not an interruption of your destiny, it is the engine that drives it forward. Every act of encouragement, every moment of support, every word that lifts another human being becomes a quiet instruction to the universe about who you are ready to become. Life does not promote people who only reach for more, it elevates those who release more. The universe measures readiness not by ambition alone, but by contribution. When you pour value into the lives of others, life returns opportunity into yours. When you become a source of light for someone else, existence rearranges itself to keep you illuminated. Some believe success is a private affair, something earned through isolation and preserved through competition. But life operates on a different design. Growth is collective. Blessing is circulatory. What you give in spirit comes back in structure. What you offer in compassion returns in connection. What you share in generosity comes back through channels you could never predict. The person you encourage today may speak your name tomorrow in a room you have not yet entered. The kindness you extend quietly may open a door loudly later. No good deed floats away unseen. Every sincere offering is recorded not in memory but in movement. Service multiplies destiny because it stretches identity. Each time you lift another person, you expand your own capacity without realizing it. You become larger than your name, bigger than your circumstances, broader than your environment. Ego shrinks vision. Contribution widens it. When you give only to self, life keeps you small. When you give beyond self, life introduces you to vastness. There is an intelligence in generosity that cannot be taught in any classroom. It trains the soul to recognize abundance even when the mind still counts limits. When your life becomes a blessing, it can no longer be barren. When your voice becomes medicine, it cannot be ignored. When your presence becomes safety, it cannot be forgotten. The universe responds to usefulness with increase. It invests more into those who move more through others. You do not need to chase a purpose, you simply need to become valuable. And value is not about perfection, talent, or applause. It is about impact. One sentence can lift a lifetime. One gesture can redirect a destiny. The more you pour into others, the more life trusts you with its treasures. It is not punishment when you are asked to serve, it is promotion in disguise. Expansion always wears the uniform of giving first. When you become a vessel for encouragement, provision flows into you. When you become an artery of hope, life pumps strength through you. Destiny never arrives empty, handed at the home of a servant-hearted soul. And now, as you carry these truths with you, remember this: you were never created to live small, think fearful, or give sparingly. You were designed as a powerful source of light in a responsive universe. Every belief you choose, every act of generosity you offer, every moment of trust you practice is shaping what meets you tomorrow. Life is not distant from you. It is listening through you. So walk forward with hands open and heart fearless. Give in love, give in faith. Give in courage, give in expectation of good. And as you do, watch how the universe rises to meet you with blessings beyond measure, paths you did not plan, and miracles you did not ask for, but were quietly preparing for you all along.